Greetings and salutations to you, the ones straddling this line between earth and sky, who don't believe that they have to choose between financial abundance and enlightenment, who are undoing their money wounds and are working through this energy to receive trust for this light work that they are doing in the world. I'm so glad to have you here. This is Mysticism and Abundance with Jake Collier. Thank you for being here. Today's episode is an interview with someone named Samantha Kearns, and she came from a life in corporate, planning events for some of the biggest names you've ever heard of, high pressure, high volume, lots of money involved, and just felt so much burnout when COVID hit and just plateaued that industry that she moved into regulating her own nervous system, getting back in touch with her body, getting back in touch with her intuition, and now she's doing that for others through sound healing and breath work. She's an incredible person, a lot of fun to talk to, great sense of humor, and you're going to hear someone named Barbara come up in the episode, so be looking out for that. It's a good bit. But before we get into the interview, a couple of announcements for you. One is, I don't know if you're listening right now or if you're watching, but the best way to experience the podcast is going to be through the Substack app. Everything that has to do with mysticism and abundance happens in that app. You've got the podcast, you've got these video versions, transcripts, you've got written posts from me, you've got the Sangha. If you pay $9 a month to join as a paid member, then you're entitled to 2 meetings a month with other members of the community and with yours truly, where we sit down and encourage each other and just lift each other up and hear where we're struggling, hear where we're having victories, and hear what the next steps look like for us on our path. Another thing is, we are looking for sponsors for these episodes. There are sponsorship packages available. If you have a business that you'd like to promote, but you're not the podcasting type, or if you know of a business that really needs this kind of promotion and really jives with our message, then please let them get in touch with me. Email me at jacob@groundpodcasting.com. All right, that's it for the announcements. Now for this amazing interview with Samantha Kearns.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic. Yeah.
I'm so thrilled as well. New York City.
I know. This is I'm actually in the river town, and that is, I just Googled it because I was like, what is that? It is when there's a fire, it's the volunteer fire stations, because they don't like stay in the station, right? Because everybody lives nearby. So it's the firehouse, and I live across the street from one. So I thought it was a ship on the Hudson. No,
honestly,
it is a firehouse.
I love the vibe it's creating so much.
It is a vibe. Yeah, it is a vibe. Yeah.
We can just get started. Take a little breath together, just for you. You're an expert on this. So
I am. We could
tell me how to do it. Tell me.
Okay.
How to do it.
Okay. So I like to close my eyes. You don't have to, but I like to. And you're going to take a nice deep breath in and breathe in through your nose, and then breathe into your belly, your chest, and then all the way up into your head, and hold it at the top. And then take a big open mouth exhale. You can take a few rounds like that, but just nice centering round of breath. Yeah. Sometimes I place a hand on my heart or your belly, just kind of connect into your space. Yeah, let's do one more. Nice breath in through your nose, breathing into your belly, your chest, and your head. Hold it at the top. And take a big open mouth exhale.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Yeah, that's nice, right?
Oh, yeah. I feel a hum. I need that centering, man. This eclipse week has been just a whole fucking thing.
It's been a big one. It's been a big one, right? Like I hear you. The bookend has been real. There's been like 3 huge areas of my life that have come roaring back in, and I was like, oh, hello, like nice to I feel like that's confirmation.
Yeah, there it is. There's more craziness. God, this is such a vibe, Samantha.
It is a vibe. It is. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Well, especially like maintaining like your inner peace, like in chaos, right? Like it's like really.
Yeah,
it's a thing. Yeah,
you live in the metaphor itself. I mean, you're right in the middle of it.
That's exactly right. And it's funny too. I feel like I remind myself all the time that there will be a time that I don't live in the city and I will miss these sounds, right? Yeah. And so it's like nice white noise, and it's always been kind of a dream to like have an apartment in the city. I'm not like in the city proper, but it is, well, who doesn't want to live in the city for a period of time, right? It
Yeah.
was, for me, it was part of the thing. So it's pretty cool to realize you're doing it while you're doing it. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
hindsight thing. So
I have a
yeah.
son. Well, my second born son is obsessed with cities. He wants to live in one day. He's in Corvallis right now.
Okay.
The OSU campus, just being 18. You know.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. My oldest just turned 21, which is a trip and a
Ooh.
half. I got ordered a beer with me, and it was very strange. Here we are.
What a rite of passage, right? Like,
Yeah.
ooh, yeah.
I told you, man, this eclipse week, it's been insane.
Yeah, big feelings. Yeah.
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 Well, hey, I want to jump in with the whole idea of, you know, where you came from and where you are now. Like, you know, you have a pretty impressive background that I think people would really like to hear about. So yeah, tell us like your history, where you've kind of come from, and that'll land us into where you are now. We can dive in.
Yeah. So I spent almost 20 years, which feels like a crazy milestone, but I spent almost 20 years in corporate America, planning really large scale corporate events, among other things, but corporate events was kind of my niche. So, you know, trade shows, product launches, we flipped prisons into homeless shelters, halfway houses, and soup kitchens. That was pretty cool. I mean, you name it, right? And so working with the C-suite and big, huge celebrity spokespersons, like, and anyways, my point is long time with real big corporate bigwigs.
Mm-hmm.
And then life happened, right? And COVID happened, kind of knocked the event industry on its ass. And
yeah,
it's interesting. I named my business after myself. And so as someone who like built their identity around their job, right? And then for it to go kaput so fast really became like, who am I without this? And so over a series of events, right, for the next several years post-COVID, it became, who am I without this? Like, who am I if I'm not earning my keep, like on an outside value? Does that make sense? Like if I'm not earning love or accomplishment or praise, like what am I? And this past year and a half, especially, life really acted upon me. I feel like the grenade went off. Like everyone's always like, you dodged a bullet. I'm like, well, right. Like it may not have killed me, but it definitely hit. And so the grenade went off and it didn't kill me, but it became the kind of thing where you kind of have to look at, who am I, right? And what am I doing? And is this like the kind of life I'm living? And if you don't make changes, this is going to continue to be the path that I'm on. Yeah. And so I had this entire like radical audacity is what I continue to call it, where I was like, I'm just kind of fuck around and find out. Like if I change the inputs of my life, right? And I started small, I like big time, I knew I would need therapy. I thought I was just going to be sad that my life had changed and I was going to be probably anxious. And then you start pulling at the thread of that sweater. And then, you know, you're like, oh no. But like, you can't put you're like trying to put it back together. You're like, oh no, let's put that back in the, oh boy. Right. Like, and you lift the rock and you're like, there's so many ants, like, oh no. Right. Yeah. And then you can't stop. And so it became, you know, the therapist I had was amazing. We did somatic experiencing, which I, as someone who could plan big things, the smarter you are, the harder it is in theory to feel your feelings, right? Like you're like conceptualizing them. Like you're like, I know how to do that. And then to really get in your body is hard, especially like I was someone who went through yoga teacher training. So I'm teaching you to do it, but I'm not actually doing it myself. So to get in your body, it felt like ruthless, right? And one thing led to another. I stopped drinking, and now it's been just over 15 months. I'm so proud of myself. Wow. Right? And so it started with 30 days while I rewired some neural pathways, and then my life started getting better. And I was like, well, I don't know why I'd pick that up again. And so I just changed like one input because everything felt terrible. And then I was like, well, maybe I could do one thing that feels less terrible. And then I started doing another thing that felt less terrible. I found sound healing and I loved that. And there was a certification program and I was like, well, I get to spend 48 hours in sound healing. And that sounds pretty all right. Right. Like that. Yeah. With gongs and bowls. And I was like, that sounds pretty all right. So, you know, and then I was like cold plunging and saunaing and red light therapy. And I was like, that's, you know, that's better than feeling terrible. And,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? And so before you know it, you've changed the inputs of your life and you've got all of these things that make you feel good. And you're really aware of the things then that make you feel bad. And so whether it's friendships or, you know, the food you eat or whatever it is, you start to become aware of what's making you feel bad. And so changing the inputs of my life dramatically changed the direction of my life, but it's like 1 degree at a time, right? Like it doesn't feel huge at the time. And then now to be here now with you, right? Like in relatively a short period of time, when you think about it, like a year and a half, largely of like intentional change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I have changed the direction of my ship dramatically, and it's an incredible thing. And I think when you really break it down, like I call my business internal evolution, and I think when something happens to you or life gets crazy and you get like those feelings are huge and you almost feel like you want to start like a revolution, right? And you're like so mad, right? And you're right. And you're like, you're and you want to put it somewhere. And then you realize that like what you really need is like an internal evolution. Like that has to be an internal upheaval. And when you can sit in the muck of who you are and feel it, like on the other side of that is the freedom you're looking for.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And that's where I'm like, I promise if you can sit and be brave and sit in the discomfort of it, like and then you're like ungovernable. My God, right? You can't manipulate someone that knows who they are. You're like, no, that's not going to work for me. And that's cool.
Yeah.
So,
the revolution starting with like homegrown sovereignty.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, pretty powerful. I love what you've brought us so far, like the story you've brought to us so far. And I want to connect some dots for people because so many people are going to see themselves in your story thus far. But you mentioned a rock and ants and a thread. I think that if we could maybe just locate maybe one key thread that you pulled that got you from corporate COVID, you know, the crisis of all of that happens where you have to go, oh shit. What led you to, because I heard deconstruction in that, which is just a key part of anybody's awakening, but could you give us a focal point there?
Sure. I had, like, I think when you start to level up, right, your old life comes back in and it's like looking better than ever, right? Like, and you're like, you know, and it's got the money and it's been doing the workouts and it's like, you're like, oh, it's not that bad, right? And so I had started out on this path and corporate events came kind of screaming back in like a banshee, but in like a beautiful way. And I was on site at an event, and trade shows are a wild beast. I don't know if you're familiar, but like there's this like wild part of them where like someone's job is to pick up the trash on the floor. So you're not meant to throw anything away during setup, right? There's literal garbage on the ground and it's part of the allure. It's like peanut shells on the floor before that was like a health code violation of ours, right? Like it's like a whole thing and you can't do it because you're taking someone's job and it's like unions. And so I get to my booth and there is like a chicken wing bone, right? Like someone's had chicken wings in my booth and it's huge. It's like the size of a dog bone. And I've seen a lot of things, right? You see a lot of things on the road and I'm not surprised because you like expect it, right? Like you're like, what is it going to be today? And the size of it, people are like, what is that? Right? Like a small animal died. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. Like, and the client I had, like, there's always a window of time that you can ship things to a show because there's so many shows going on that if you ship it during the window, they won't receive it because it's like, it's going to get lost and everything is not my job. Right. And this is someone's job in this union. Like I will set up the TV, but someone else can't plug it in. And and I was like, I don't want to deal with a chicken bone and I don't want this, it's not my job. And it's like the chaos and the dysregulation. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And it like the paycheck, right?
Yeah.
It became the thing that like, I just said no, right? Like and I feel like you have that moment on your level, no matter what your story is. It doesn't have to be chicken bones in a trade show booth, right? Like that's a unique example, but like you have that moment where like your old life comes back right? And it's not that it's a step backwards, but it is kind of like a waltz, if you will. And you get a chance to kind of like tango with it, and you're like, no. And I think that's kind of I think it's an important part really of the growth, right? Like how bad do you want to be where you say you do? You know what I mean? And I think sometimes you have to try the shoe back on to be like, I actually hate that shoe, right? Like I don't. Yeah. And I've loved what corporate events brought me. I traveled the world. I've met some of the most amazing people. I just got to a point in my own journey where I realized I've become such a regulated person, and I didn't understand the level of dysregulation that was happening for me in that world. Does that make sense? Like
for sure.
When you live planning details of events, I mean, my life was planned years in advance, and you're managing incredibly stressful initiatives for other people and huge budgets. Like it is one big kind of heart attack waiting to happen, at least the way I managed it. And I was like, I can't do this much longer and maintain my health. And so that was my pivot. And again, nothing but love for corporate events. They really were a beautiful time in my life, but I'm grateful for the pivot. And so, taking that level of audacity now and pivoting it into like your own personal life and taking that radical belief in like, if I can help you, figure out how to shoot a nail gun through a cell phone, I can definitely help you figure out how to stand up for yourself. You know what I mean? Like that's like, it's that kind of belief. Yeah.
Yeah. So. That's good. Cause it's, there's so many layers to what you just said, but at the first level, I mean, just realizing, I was talking with a really close friend that just moved. All they did was move one state away. Sure. And they were like, I just realized that I've been asleep for 5 years. Like I didn't realize how bad I hated where I was and how I wasn't living as fully as I could be. And this move, that energetic shift just has created all these openings in life. And you're creating these openings in your own life now, which I want to talk about. So what you're into now, what you're doing now. Let's talk about this energetic shift and how you're taking this immense energy, this badass boss bitch energy, and putting it into badass bitch breath work. Let's talk about it. Yeah,
I love that. I love that. First off, and I think that's exactly it, right? Because I think there's this kind of misconception at times that like the healing journey is like that feels like confirmation, like it's like light and love and like that we don't get mad. And I'm like, the healing journey is full of rage. Like it is full of rage and big feelings. And I firmly believe it's okay to cuss the entire time, right? Like you can just get mad, right? Like, and you have to get into the grit of it all. And so creating a space where like you are safe to feel your feelings in their entirety is the part of it, right? In events, my job was to be your safe space. I always joke that I was like your Olivia Pope, right? I was your fixer, right? Like you can't lie to me or I can't fix it, right? I don't care what it is, but I can't fix it. I'll never repeat it. And so I've taken that same kind of thing where you create the safety, right? Like it's the safe container, because healing requires community, period. And you talk about this on your content as well, that like we need a village, we truly do. And you need the safety of someone else that can bear witness to your journey without judgment. And that is especially where a coaching program comes in, or, a mentor of some sort.
Yeah.
And that someone that is going to meet you where you're at, especially when you're dysregulated, someone that is like, show up. I don't care if you're in your pantry, like housing Twizzlers. I'm like, I get it, girl, right? Like show up, right? Just show up and I'll catch you where you're at, right? Yeah. And it was the same in corporate. I just didn't realize what I was doing. And it's taking that and allowing you to show up dysregulated and then helping you with tools to meet yourself kindly and politely. Yeah. And so through the safety of communication, through the safety of breath work, through the safety of sound healing, because I think sometimes we get to a place where cognitively you're like, I don't know what it is. And you get to a point where talking it out, you get you don't want to ruminate anymore. You get a little irritated of like, I don't want to keep digging this up.
Mm.
So when we get into things like breath work or sound healing, we allow our conscious mind to kind of, I always say we like yeet it out of the chat. We like out of here it goes. You know what I mean? Like you drop into your parasympathetic nervous system where your subconscious has a chance to come forward and gift you something that you're ready to let go of. And so in those moments, right, when your conscious mind and your ego isn't like, no, right, like, no way, Jan, we're not doing that. Your subconscious can be like, hey, we think you'd be a lot better off if we could all just set this down and move forward. And then it becomes the kind of thing that we don't even need to talk it out unless you want to. But as long as you can feel the feeling, right, then your nervous system understands you're safe with yourself. Yeah. And then you can really start the expansion, right? And that's where having someone on the other side of you to meet you, where I'm like, how do you feel now that you've moved through that? And you're like, I ate a whole pizza. And I'm like, I get it, right? Like, how are we, do you know what I mean? And it's like, no judgment. Because as you expand, you have to contract because that's physics, right? You can't not also move down. And so it's learning that there is no shame. It just is. And so having someone that understands that none of it's wrong is so helpful, because then you can meet yourself without shame. Do you know what I mean? And then you just evolve together, and it's just pristine.
Yeah. It is. And you're uniquely poised to help people with burnout because you understand that.
Correct.
Could you kind of explain some ways? Because I think some people don't even understand the toll that's being taken on them by this sort of underlying stress. I've heard you bring up very compelling points about the vagus nerve, nervous system regulation, and all of this. Yeah. Can we talk about the ways that burnout and stress might manifest in a person's life, that they could get that warning signal to work with someone like you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
To elevate themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fantastic point. And I think too, when you live in a fight or flight state, or you live under huge deadlines, right? Like you said, burnout isn't even something you're really aware of that's happening. It can be chronic pain. It can be disrupted sleep. It's like, it's insomnia, right? I'm not a medical doctor, so continue to get your medical advice from your doctors, but it shows up in the body, right? Like when we don't process feelings or chaos or trauma, your body doesn't know what to do with it when you don't feel it. So it stores it, kind of like, I love the example of it stores high fructose corn syrup the same way. It's like, what is this? Like, so it just puts it somewhere until you deal with it, which is why if you're having like a really great day and then that really embarrassing moment that you had 10 years ago comes up, your body's like, oh, can we like get rid of this now? Like you're finally ready to feel this thing. Can we let go of it finally? Right. And it's the same kind of a thing. And so I think you start to see it in moments that like you're getting in your own way. Your temper is getting out of control. You're just starting to eat whatever's around, right? You're binge eating. You're not eating at all. You're losing your temper with your children. You know what I mean? You're really not showing up in a way that you can't understand why you're doing what you're doing. And it becomes, that's where you can't think your way into it, right? Like your body is doing what it needs to try and bring to your attention what's going on. Yeah. And that's where you can't shame yourself into behaving differently. Does that make sense? Right? Like, yeah, we can't change our behavior through like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Right? Like we're not like David Gogginsing our behavior change, right? Like that's fantastic for like achieving like marathons and things, but like changing our behavior is got to be a safe space, right? We can definitely do it through love, right? And safety, but like, we're not going to like beat ourselves down into like showing up better for ourselves, right? That's not how that works.
No, that's really good. And I love the David Goggins example because even that method in the body, his body is really bucking him right now. And he set an amazing example, and he showed us a real kind of like an archetype of this immovable, indomitable human will.
Absolutely.
Even at the expense of his body, he still made a point, Yeah.
And I love his books. I love his story, and it's an incredible, that's mind over the body. Right. And it's an interesting, different duality.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're talking a lot about listening to the body. I want to get some thoughts from you on this, because I've noticed this so much, that there's like there's this book called No Bad Parts. It's about parts work, internal family systems, the psychology. There's the aura of the body. There's the mind, the body, the soul. There's this like multiplicitous sort of dimension to being, that the body is like its own distinct animal, its own distinct part of self. And there's like a way we have to communicate with ourselves almost in a dual way. How would you say that shows up in your practice? What have you noticed there?
I love that this is coming up. I love this. The best example that's coming to mind for me, I always suggest that people, and I use my own example for this, when you start to notice that you're kind of acting like out of character, right? Like when we think about ourselves as like beings of pure light, right? Like if we were pure light before we got here, or however we want to think about ourselves, the way in which you had to protect yourself so that the world did not like annihilate you, right? Like that's kind of parts therapy, that you had to develop an ego to protect yourself. You had to develop these parts to protect the part of you that is like pure love, is how I that's like grossly simplified. But my point, there's a part of me that is like an absolute warrior, right? Like she is like a war veteran, right? I call her Barbara, and she is an absolute, like, I feel like she deserves like the Medal of Honor, right? Like she is. So when I get like that hot headed, and it's not often, but like when I show up and I'm like really defensive for myself, and it's always something that because someone is wronging me in some capacity, I know that I need to pay attention because Barbara has my best interest in mind. And there is something I have not cognitively noticed that's going on because that is not my normal state, right? I am normally kind and loving. But when I find that I am like really irritable with someone, my nervous system has picked up on something I have not, and Barbara shows up. But it's important to differentiate that I am not that way all the time. That is information coming to me from my body. It is a protective part of me that is showing up to give me something that's like, you might want to pay attention to this because it's something you haven't, picked up on yet. So when that's happening, for you to pay attention is really what your body needs. It needs you to be like, hey, are you noticing what's going on here? And when you do, and you acknowledge it and you are like, hey, I get it. We don't let, like for me, I don't let Barbara drive the car because she will drive it through your house, right? Like she'll be like, you know what I mean? Like she's so on it that like
Samantha take the wheel, she's just gonna drive you through Dukes of Hazzard type stuff. Yeah,
Barbara's driving us off a cliff, right? And so but it's because it's so much love, because she has had to dig us out of the pits of hell, right? And so being able to identify that that's coming from a positive, protective place is also important, right? That this is a part of me that loves me so much that it's coming from a really good place, but I can love that part of me, but not give it the keys to the car. It's kind of like identifying that your subconscious is largely like your inner child, right? Wanting to have a corrective experience for something that didn't go well. So the situation that you might be in a relationship or work or wherever has an opportunity to be a corrective experience. So because you're an adult now, you can choose a different ending, right? You don't let that inner child that's having a tantrum drive the car, right? And so it's the same kind of theory.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah. I love the reframe too, because, the ego is so often cast in such a negative light. And it's like, none of us are getting rid of, mine's Daniel, none of us are getting rid of Daniel or Barbara. They're not going anywhere. They're roommates.
They're roommates. Yeah. Barbara.
You have to reframe it.
She doesn't pay rent.
No, she doesn't. Rent free in the old head all the time.
But it's such a good point too, because it's such a good point because what we resist persists, right? Or what we try and kill tries to kill you. And so when we can befriend it and get curious about it, then we take like the voltage out of it. I think about it like a bouncy house, that you can unplug the severity of it. You take the pot like off the stove, right? So we're not just letting the steam out, we're just unplugging the charge, right? Like it becomes information that we can use to, then it's like a secret agent, right? Then you're like, I've got this like weapon of information in my pocket that I can use to propel myself forward, as opposed to like a part of me I have to resist.
Yeah. And you're operating from a default mindfulness with that perspective too, which I think is like the whole seeing, not being thing.
Correct.
I'm seeing the ego, or I'm seeing the emotion, I'm seeing the thought, but not being the thought, not being the ego, not being the emotion,
Absolutely. And just being aware of it is like a step out of kind of the matrix, if you will, right? You're aware of like the kind of the avatar. You're like, hang on, that is not me, right? Or like if I have like a sudden rush of anxiety, I'm like, is that mine? Like what is that? And then you can pause and be like, I don't even think that's my anxiety, right? I think that might be something I inherited. That might be a default thing. That might be, and you can kind of like shake it off, right? And it's powerful to not take it with you for the rest of the day. I love that. That's incredible.
Yeah, those intrusive thoughts. I think that earlier we were talking about, people's signs of dysregulation that they might be unaware of. Those moments. Those are moments. They're signposts. If you can step outside of them and allow them to be that, then they are tools for mindfulness. They aren't hindrances or obstacles. They're part of this like leveling up game.
I love the example that like guardrails go like on a road, go in like guardrails are not like off the side of the road, right? They're in a safe space still, so that when you hit them, you're not off the side of the mountain, right? Like it's like a guardrail, right? Being aware of like, hang on, Barbara's here, like, hang on, right? You pause, right? The stimulus, the pause, and we don't let Barbara drive, but you're like, hang on. But it's teaching that mindfulness because you still are in control, right? Like you've bumped up against your guardrail, and before we ruin the car and Ferris Bueller it off, the entire out of the house here. Do you know what I mean? And it gives you your life back, right? And that is like upper echelon behavior, right? You ascend to a level of self-mastery that will open doors that people can only dream of. You know what I mean? You can't be manipulated when you can control yourself like that.
Yeah, you just reminded me of when Cameron was in Egypt land, let my Cameron go. It's kind of, but to be honest, it's a little bit of a picture of what we're talking about. That outside of self, realizing we're dropping the fetters and the chains and freeing ourselves. We're letting our Cameron go. I love you brought up Ferris Bueller, man. Let's go. Yeah. So let's get into the like walk of this. Walk me through, like, let's say someone were to sign up for a session with you. What kind of practice could they like what you showed me at the beginning? What kind of practice could they expect to see from you? How does a typical session go? We've got sound, we've got breaths. Tell me how that just plays out in a session.
Sure. So most of what I do is like it's a longer program, to be totally fair. A lot of it is nervous system regulation. So that requires time, right? Actually, what it requires is repeated experiences that are safe and like a stack up of safe people and safe experiences. And so that requires usually about 6 months is what I like. Depending on where we're getting started, right? If we're brand new, 6 months is pretty solid. If you're like, I'm a seasoned veteran and I'm just trying to move to the new level of my life, I want a promotion I've never had, we can probably condense it into about 3. But it just depends where they're at. But it's holding space while on the other side of you, so that as your nervous system expands, I've got you. And as you show up and you're like, my old life showed back up, and I'm like, how are we handling it? Right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm prepared to catch you as you have your growth and contraction, so that we can really be prepared, right? So that we don't, as we catch the hot potato, because as you get the life you want, you don't throw it back, right? You're not like, oh no, right? Like you can hold it and you've showed up and you've changed and you're ready, because some people get what they say they want and then they totally self-sabotage it, right? And it's also making sure that you're prepared and that we have the new pathways and that you've leveled up and can maintain the thing you say you want. So it's usually a longer program like that. I do one-off things if it's just you want to come for relaxation and you just want some sound healing or breath work, absolutely. But part of it in this program is it's all weaves in together, right? We do a lot of work consciously, we set goals. And then as we run into blocks, we're like, I'm not sure where this is coming from. That's where the sound healing and the breath work comes into. We do a lot of guided questioning, and then we'll move into something like a sound healing or breath work to really tap into your subconscious with an intention of like, what are we releasing? What are we asking? Where are we trying to get to? Where is that subconscious block coming in? And where might that be, kind of a problem?
Right. Well, that's beautiful. And it paints a picture too of how important the body is as a portal to this consciousness and as a portal to this higher experience. And I think that that's something that, I mean, I don't want to get off on too much of a sidebar with this, but we just there's an affront on the human body right now, especially in America. We're being fed some really nasty stuff. There's just this total disconnect, this blue light, this constant exposure to all this entertainment media and stuff that keeps us sitting and keeps us, it seems interesting to me that is the thing that's holding so many people back. And if they just reconnect with their body in a conscious way through the kind of thing that you're offering, they life begins to open up to them.
And that is where I joke all the time, and I should probably be careful what I put out there because I'm not trying to get myself like on some sort of watch list, but like that is exactly it, where I'm like, and that's where I'm like, you become ungovernable when you realize that there is a war for your attention, which is the hottest commodity there is. And you learn how to take back your attention. And even if you're still spending time on TikTok or social media and your podcast, wherever you're spending your time, but it is with intention and you're crafting your experience to serve your interests, right? Like what you consume is so important, right? You're making sure that it's your frequency music and that it is things that align and expand your consciousness, that it is things that really make you grow in an exploratory conscious way, right? As opposed to like this like left versus right? It's much more of an internal expansion. Then it's a beautiful like tool. Do you know what I mean? And you really realize that like, then the war becomes the regulated, it's not even a war, but it becomes like the regulated versus dysregulated. It's new earth versus old earth, right? And it's not even versus, it just is, right? And then you're using all of this technology to expand, and you're using it for your benefit, and you're using it. And then you've got the tools to know when it's enough, right? When you're like, I need a moment. And so it's learning, and it's that pause to like, how do you tune inward? And so, and that's where too, I've got a series of workshops that are coming out because I'm realizing how many people are like, I've got people that are like so into this that are like, I just want to be able to take this like badass boss babe energy and like throw it into the next chapter of my life, which is really cool. Yeah. Or people that are like, what are you talking about? I'm not my thoughts. So I'm putting together kind of a dichotomy here. But my point being, there's something for everyone. If it's like, no matter where you are on the spectrum, right? It all applies. And it's like, whether it's starting with frequency music and like, how do we tap into our thoughts and not be afraid of what comes up, right? And understanding that like your body is never trying to humiliate you, and it is never, ever trying to work against you, right? I think sometimes there's this misconception that like, my body is working against me. And you're like, no, like your body is your best friend. Your body is like that homie. You're like, it's your ride or die. Like that is your home girl. And when you realize that everything that's happening is happening for you to have like an evolution experience, then you can get curious, and then you take out the shame and you take out the judgment. And that's where the evolution really happens. And I know we talked about it before, but like, that's where like, all I want is everyone to be having a better time and having like a healthier human experience, because then we're all having a healthier experience. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It becomes, this is where capitalism doesn't teach you this, right? We don't learn this in school because you would be ungovernable. Like you could not teach the masses this. They would be hard to control. And how would you profit off of this, right? So this becomes, I've never been one that like thrives in like the corporate workforce. I'm usually the one after about 100 days. You know that scene in Ocean's 11 where they go down to stop the strike at the dice manufacturer, right? They're like, we have to go down and talk to them. Like, and then they join the strike.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, I'm always the one that's like, they can't treat us like this. And it's like, I make it like 3 months in corporate America. And I'm like, oh no. Like,
oh, I'm so that way too. It's that maverick archetype, dude, that you just, it exists, and it's not friendly with that corporate agenda at all.
We're like,
I was just going to say, you've got so much like behind what you're saying. I can just see it. I can see you, like you're doing a fantastic job laying out what you do and why it works. And I understand that you're writing about it too now, right?
Yeah.
There's a book coming out. Oh my goodness. We need to hear more about this right now.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so excited. So I feel like my pen has always kind of been, maybe not my sword is kind of like a common phrase, but it's always been my outlet, right? And when I was going through, especially I kind of joke that I like fell into getting sober. I was like supposed to be 30 days, and then it became like 45, and then it became 6 months, and now it's 15. And to go back to drinking would be kind of silly at this point, right? My life, like I would never be here if I was still drinking, right? So my point, when you're looking for hobbies, you're like, what do I do now? Right. So I made all of these goals for myself. Like I was going to, Japanese, the gold paint, like vases. And I did those paint by number kits, and I did all kinds of things to figure out what stuck for me. I threw spaghetti, like just shy of throwing actual spaghetti on the wall. I tried everything. And I've always liked writing, and I just started journaling about my experience and what this feels like when you're going through what feels like being like tarred and feathered in public, where you're like, you're doing something that no one around you is doing. You're healing like this. You've changed your whole life. No one understands. Right. And I had no blueprint, right? No one in my family got it. None of my friends, although I've got some great friends that were like, with you, don't get it, but thrilled for you. Right. Like, but like
I remember when we had our little pre-interview, you said sound bowls, are you okay?
I was like, what? Especially when you think about like, I had so much like societal success, right? Like corporate events, traveling the world, like making money, and then to be like, I'm gonna do sound bowls and breath work, and people were like, oh no, right? Like, oh. And it was that like, are you okay? And and then you're talking about like our nervous system, and like we can feel our feelings, and you're not your thoughts. And it was like, do I have to put tinfoil on my head next? Like, where are you going with this? And so I think it just, and especially coming from a family that like is largely 100% Irish, and like we, big drinkers, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like to take a route that I think it would have been much more understood if I was like, I just started robbing a few liquor stores. It's fine. They would have been like, we get it. Like, we get it.
Right. And need a little extra cash. Yeah. We get it. Yeah. That makes sense.
That's our girl. Right. Like, and I think, I think to be the outlier when and go such a different direction than what has been not even modeled, but like to be such a black sheep in such a in positive way, but like to break a mold so dramatically from what I had no example of this, and to do it anyways, was something that I found writing about it made it make sense. Right. And some of it's like gut wrenching to reread, but a lot of it's really beautiful. And it's putting that into one place, right? I make a lot of videos on social media, and on Instagram, we're trying to make it into like 3 lines, which is impossible, but like it's a place to put that. And so, I feel like too, we've talked about it before, but like when you're going through something, there's no way you're the only one, right? There is no way that you're the only person that's going through it. And I think when you're going through something that feels, it feels kind of like being naked in public, right? You're like embarrassed, and it's awkward. You've got like your Bambi legs, and you're like, what am I doing? And especially like in the middle of anything, the middle sucks, right? Like it's it's why people quit, right? It's why people go back
sure.
when your old life comes calling. You're like, you know what? I don't know where this is headed. And like this, at least I know, right? It's why people go back, and no shame, but like it makes sense. And so I feel like if it helps a few people, that's the goal, right? Of like, it does work out. And like, just by like the laws of physics, if you change your inputs and stay consistent, your reality has to reorder itself. It does. Like, you cannot change your inputs and then your outputs just stay the same. It does not work that way, right? You can't be, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And that's the coolest part, is if you change your inputs and stay consistent, your life will change. You just have to stick it out through the middle. And the bigger your goal is, the longer the middle is. And that's cool, because it's like, you will get there. You just have to not quit.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be writing the book you're writing right now if you hadn't made the changes that you have. I want to hear, does it have a working title or anything? I'm so curious. I want to know all about it. Okay. What's the working title right now?
The working title is Egos and Optics, which is a play on corporate. And then it's the story of one woman's audacity. And again, it's working title, but it is because I think the thing you get, like, people at first are like, oh my gosh, like, oh no, she's probably lost her mind, right? Like, sound bowls, and then you get to a point in your journey where you're really doing it. And now it's like, I've got an article dropping, should be later today, maybe tomorrow, in USA Today. It's happening, right? Women's World came out last week or 2 weeks ago, like International Business Times. Like, it's that flywheel is spinning, right? And then it becomes like, who are you to dare so greatly, right? And then people get upset. Not everybody, but it happens, and it's interesting, and it becomes this whole, everyone can do this. And I think for the people that it inspires, that's who I'm going after. Where I'm like, I just want to. All you need is someone to help open the door for you and extend a hand. If you're trying to climb that ladder, I've got a hoist for you. Like, I will hoist you up as long as you're headed this way. Come on, like, let's go. Yeah. And I needed a hand, right? Everybody does. Everybody needs a help. And so that's it, right? And so I just want it to be the kind of thing that someone's like, if she did it, I can do it, because that's exactly right. You know what I mean? Everybody, and that's it. Like, if I can stand like in a radical audacity moment and just bet it all on myself, you can definitely do the same, because I had bricks and grenades thrown at me. And if I can do it and if you need help, my God, I've got websites and social media, and you just send me DMs, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the community I'm after, right?
Yeah, that's it, man.
So,
that's it.
Yeah,
so
cool.
this is inspiring for it will be for so many people. And I'll just tell you, so my unique incarnation into this matrix is, it's like, I'm a promoter type on the Myers-Briggs. I'm an artist. I'm also, I end up in marketing. That's what I end up in.
I love it.
I don't love marketing, but that's where I end up. So, but what I see in your personal brand and in your work that you're doing is exactly the kind of management of polarities that I'm trying to teach people to do, where it's like, I talked about this on a post today. We have the human heart, we have the deeper heart, we have the earth, and we have the sky, that are both huge parts of the human experience. And we struggle with those polarities. You have the corporate that you're marrying with the mindful. And you still carry a lot of the energy and the personality and drive that comes from the corporate, but you are showing the following of the heart and the intuition that comes with the work you're doing now. So I love it. I love the whole package here for you. What's next for you? Tell me where you're headed. Tell me what you're planning right now.
You know, it's funny you just said that, because there's an opportunity to marry back into corporate a bit, where it's like speaking, instead of being the one that put on the events and stood in the back, to be on the stage now, where it talks about like, you don't have to leave corporate, right? I'm not like against it. It's just like, how do we bring in mindfulness, right? How do we understand that, like, when we're all working with a in a cohesive state within ourselves, right? We don't have to all be like against one another, right? Like, it's bringing those tips into ourselves, right? So that we're not all burning out, right? My favorite thing before I left corporate the last time was that like that Gen Z was like, they had such interesting feedback. They were like, is there something we can do at these networking events besides watch everyone get drunk? And I was like, blew my mind, because I was like, what? Loved it. But I, as an elder millennial, between the boomers and my generation, I was like, no one dared question it. Like, we didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, how brave. And also, I love this. Right. And so then you have to, as an event planner, you have to get really creative, because you're like, what is there to do with this mini group of people besides drink? Also, it alleviates all kinds of scandal. So you're like, this is great.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of things. Like, how do you take such a big group of people that are working towards something, right, that's so expensive and whatever, and give them something that's so powerful, right? And I do all kinds of corporate sound baths now and things like that, or sometimes it's corporate yoga. And so it's a really cool way to blend that. So my answer to your question is there is an opportunity to blend in some corporate, which is quite exciting. This book is coming out, which will be probably in the new year. And to be totally fair, I feel like there's a cusp of something coming that I feel like I'm not entirely sure exactly what that is. I feel like when you live by faith like this, you kind of just say thank you and wait for the next step to be presented, if that makes sense. So for the first time in my life, I don't have a plan for everything. And I feel like the universe is kind of delighting me with that. So
that's kind of buried in the question. You ask what's next. Some people have a plan, and some people are more surrendered to the present. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. And it's really cool that that's where you're finding yourself right now. It's great.
Yeah. Well, for years, right, I had every detail planned for years. I knew where we would be for a lot, like 5 years in advance. And so it's kind of a cool, talk about the duality, right? To be on the other side, because I feel like life has met me in a positive way at the height of my surrender now, not the height of my struggle. And this is a really cool shift for me as well. So,
wow. Yeah. Look at this, man. We've got somebody who's been sober for 15 months. Is that right? Is that what I remember here?
15 months and 1 day. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And you have such a history and such a bright future ahead of you. I'm so excited for you. Tell me where people can find you and connect with you more. This has been great.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
So my website is internalevolution.life. So that's INTERNALEVOLUTION.LAFE. My TikTok, where I put a ton of content, is Internal Evolution. Instagram is internal.evolution. I do a newsletter that goes out on Sundays, which is always to like help ward off the Sunday scaries. But yeah, I'm all over socials. And then, like I said, my website is on there, and I'm very accessible on social media. I always respond to every comment. So I'm not one of those like from a distance, right? I'm very interactive on there. So please reach out and stay connected. Yeah.
Excellent. And I know they will. You have been a joy. Thank you so much.
This has been a pleasure. Thank you. This has been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, no, thank you. Your future is bright. I'm just excited to get to be a little part of it.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to be here.